welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS Winter. We have one last match for the European section of our broadcast today. We're going to be covering that in just a moment's time. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by Nathanius here at the desk. Looking good.
What is up, my dude?
Well, we got our decider match, which is going to be Bly versus Rail. We got to see some weird shenanigans out of both of these guys today, and they played that match earlier, kind of broke our I think actually it was you and me on that match, right?
Yeah, the Bly Rail match was not. I wouldn't say that was the crazy one. Bly Goblin got funky.
That did.
Bly Rail was just like, all right, I'm going to kill you with Sentries and Immortals 2 games in a row. And Bly's like, I'm going to start building units, but it's not going to be enough.
We started seeing Bly try to get to what he wanted to do, which is like, I'm going to get up some Swarmos, and each Swarmos would die to like one volley of the Immortals because he was already dead by the time the Swarmos were coming out.
Yeah.
So we'll see, is that going to be something that Rail can keep up in this series as well? Because I know that he kind of was able to prevent it in the first series, but you know, the more games you play, more chances your opponent has to kind of trying to react to things.
And as In Control mentioned, it is the infamous I win the first match, and then we have the rematch. And the guy who loses in the first match, the favored player, who's like, wow, you lost to Rail. We all know how this goes. I think statistically speaking,
Group curse
puts Bly on like some sort of insane advantage over Rail, where Rail is like literally trying to defy like the laws of physics. He's like, I know that I beat you and we're rematching in the deciders, but I still need to win.
Well, if there's anything that Rail does well, it is defying the norm. We'll see if you can do it here.
As we say, he's a hipster, Fear Dragon.
No, because I don't think he enjoys. No, I think he doesn't do it because it's different. I think he does it because he's like, this is just normal, right?
Okay, I'm just throwing you a curveball.
I know. All right, starting up here on the top right, we have our red Zerg player. It is Bly.
Facing off against our blue Protoss player in the southwest, he is Rail.
Got the Brood War Protoss music every single time for those intros.
Yeah. I believe the music is random on one of the 2 races that you have in there usually when it starts. So you can either get the Protoss music, or you can get the Terran music, depending. It just, I think, as far as I'm aware, it literally just depends on the races that are playing, and then it's just like random.
Oh yeah, I meant the intros.
Oh
play like a little intro music in this Brood War Protoss. This is like I said, the Void Protoss music, I think. Yeah. By the way, as we're talking about all these totally important things, there is a fast gas and pool coming out here from Bly. This was a pool gas.
He's gonna take the hatch after, but it's not like the weird proxy hatch that we saw. My brain already goes back to that Bly game against Goblin, the really weird one on King's Cove, where he had the hatch in his base, and
that was just watching a hatchery that has maybe 150 hit points left over and not actually dying was so weird. But yeah, so it's a little bit interesting to see the kind of like early pool and send some lings across the map, try and get some damage done against Rail, because I feel like Rail is one of the players that oftentimes goes for the like fully walls off a little bit faster than some Protoss players, just because he likes to go for like the gateway follow-up sometimes before his tech.
Yeah.
We'll see if that's going to happen this game, though. His probe is not in position.
You do need to be careful. I don't think his probe saw those lings, so he's just going to run in. And honestly, oh my god, that 3-second nerf on the adept build time might go back again. I don't even know if it'll be 3 seconds.
I think it's going to be a lot more than 3 seconds.
He's going to smack that pylon, drop kick the production of Rail. The probes are coming down, trying to pick this off. And you know what? Rail, he
actually can't mine right now.
He feels the call. You know, it's like when you hear the ancestral call of all the players who have ever won the first match and then had to rematch in the final. He's like, oh my god, this is already really bad. He lost the 2 probes. The pylon was denied. He still has to have probes off the line to chase down these lings, loses another one.
Yeah, Nate, this is not only really bad because he's losing these workers and losing mining time, he's barely even mining gas right now, so he has a Stargate.
Yeah,
cool.
He can't start an Oracle.
He can't start an Oracle. He still hasn't started Warp Gate. And there are going to be roaches coming across the map. He's getting all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I take back everything.
Does he make the 500 IQ play?
Void Ray.
He does. Okay. Well, if there was a unit that would help him here, it would be a Void Ray.
It is definitely going to help, but you know what he really needs to do, Nate?
Finish the wall.
Finish the wall.
Yeah, he needs the wall.
Really needs to finish that wall.
Oof.
2 more Lings make their way on in.
Okay. L probe moving over.
Plants down a pylon. I think that is a full wall now, yeah.
Yep.
Ling makes his way over the main base, and both of them...
Void Ray can do it, though. It's very difficult, I imagine. But the thing is, when you're playing against Bly, he's not building workers. So Rail is actually still ahead in workers, and he has to expand.
Oh, the Lings are going to survive long enough to also spot out the Void Ray. That might just give him an extra few seconds of time. Okay, the
I
Void
was
Ray
going to say, he can see what's building from the Stargate. Just looking at it, too.
So we're going to see a lot of Lings following this up.
Shield battery would have been so nice. He needs the Void Ray, like, already there.
I don't think he could afford a shield battery, because you want to get him more gateway units, too. She just taps out. Oh, boy.
Super dead, as Roddy would say.
Well, I would say
that's game 1 for you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was one way to just not even worry about getting up to Swarmos and surviving. You just kill them before they kill you.
You heard the Americas broadcast was supposed to start in 15 minutes. So.
He's trying to play catch up.
Yeah, that's all. Accelerated.
I appreciate that. I think we also, production gave us a bunch of stats on Bly and stuff. It's like 73% win rate versus Protoss right now. His strongest matchup. Looking pretty good.
Yeah. I don't like statistics when it comes to Bly. Nothing ever really makes sense. Because you would have been like, oh yeah, his match versus Protoss is great, and then he played versus Rail earlier today and got dunked on. So
it's also true because Bly plays in so many tournaments. So you look at like a win rate, like, oh wow, he has a really good win rate versus this particular race. It's like, but then when you look and it's like, oh cool, he played versus like Wardy in an online cup or something. It's like, huh, I didn't know Wardy was playing.
The guys who grind the online cups, like the pros that play in those, you're mostly playing against people that are going to be in the mid, lower GM spectrum, you know.
Yeah, you see players like Cyril or a Neeb or something. They're a little bit. They play in the online tournaments, but they play in fewer.
Yep, and then it pads the win rate super hard because it's like, yeah, you're winning these tournaments, but a lot of these guys are going to be around that like 6K, 6,500 maybe. I don't know what MMR Bly is. I'm just but I'm just saying, you know what I mean. Anyway, we're just stalling a little bit as we get into our next game. That was so fast, I don't have anything to break down there. Zerglings got in. His probe scout didn't see them. The Zerglings went on the north side. If the probe goes up top and he sees the Lings, then maybe you panic, get the wall off a little bit faster.
I was also saying, like, it's a little bit unfortunate, too, because if you aren't going for the Stargate opening there, I think that, like, oftentimes you're adding on those, or at least Rail likes to add on those gateways and finish off that wall a little bit sooner. So sometimes those Lings don't quite get in as fast, or maybe your probe is already there, so it can throw it at another pylon instinctively before it ends up, like, immediately dying. So there's a little bit of luck involved in that and just what Rail was going for. But yeah, that was punishing.
Yeah, that's just what we call a bop in the industry, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready. Do we know the next map?
Port Alexander is going to be map number 2.
Port Alexander's all right. I don't have any strong feelings one way or the other on the map. How do you like it?
Yeah, I think I don't have super strong feelings right now just because I've been watching games, but I've been watching so many weird games that I don't actually know that I feel like there's 100% a standard meta right now.
Now, by weird games, just so you guys know, Fear Dragon casts matches where players will have literally all of their units and buildings look like one unit. So he doesn't just mean weird. He means like not even StarCraft.
You saw that
anymore.
broadcast?
Yes. The one guy's army all looked like SCVs, and the other players all looked like mothership cores, which aren't even in the game anymore.
Yeah.
It's a great.
Shout out to Nice Username. That was a great mod. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
All right, well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, jumping into game number 2. Is Jeff going to be proven right? Is the group curse real? Or will this guy up here in the top left-hand corner of the map prove it right? Is our red Zerg player, Bly. See what I did there? I said either right or right.
Oh, yeah. Am I right or am I right? Or am I right? That's a good reference for 2 days from now, actually. In the bottom right, we have the blue Protoss player. His name is Rail. Yeah, I guess it is WCS Europe. I don't think they do Groundhog Day in Europe.
Oh, is that what you were referring to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
God, watch more movies, Ravi.
Dude, Groundhog Day is a great movie. I watched it
recently. Know that scene literally happened 6 times in it, so I'm impressed that wouldn't be what you remember. We have the proxy hatch again, by the way, here.
There we go.
And you know what? It does feel like Groundhog Day because there's another proxy hatchery by Bly.
Okay, Okay, we got 4 probes. One of these probes is not actually attacking.
One of them
That
derping.
It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you're talking about the actual math for this, if you only have 4 probes attacking the hatchery,
And
it doesn't actually kill it.
Now we know the AI won't be able to defeat us because if they all push at once, one of them won't realize it needs to go around the others.
There you go, man.
There
We're
you
safe
go.
for a little bit longer until
Those are SCVs. One of them would have been like, hey, what am I doing? There we go.
finally starts attacking with that, but you'll notice that the hit points they weren't going down, they were just staying sort of even. So now he has to get out the Zealot. That should be able to finish the job, and I think that if Bly just sees that Zealot for a split second, he could cancel this immediately, throw down an Evo Chamber, just be extra annoying. But he does not need to let this finish.
Yeah, I mean, it's also primarily a stalling tactic by the Zerg player. You're trying to block. Sometimes you see the cancel into the Evolution Chamber to block a little bit more. I think with these many units, wouldn't be able to finish it. But most of the probes get pulled off, so if the Evolution Chamber finishes up, then you also have the Broodlings that you can try to use to snipe the probe, maybe get the Zealot. And meanwhile, Bly is just chugging along back home.
Oh my god, that feeling when you realize, oh, actually the Zealot doesn't kill the Evo Chamber building by itself, so you could even let that finish, like you said.
Yeah.
Do those Broodlings. Here we go. Bly does have some gas being mined. Remember that when he goes for this kind of push, this kind of play does delay things like that Zerging speed.
Did he let that Evo Chamber finish, by the way?
Oh no, he didn't.
Okay.
Cancels it. Oh my god. Oh, Bly is so dirty when it comes to this stuff. He is so good with it.
I was ready to pull up my pig impression there. I was going to give a deep guttural oh no if he was able to get that hatch block again. That would have been insane. God, it never stops.
Well,
Never stops.
is that a good thing or a bad thing with this pylon here?
I mean, if we go back to King's Cove against Goblin, then that hatchery is absolutely terrifying.
Adept is also making its way across the map and is going to get stopped because I think he's just busy trying to deal with the hatchery and trying to figure out how to react to this again. Goes to the mostly full wall off. He's going to get another Adept to fully wall off and can deny some mining over here. This is kind of nice, but if he doesn't shade out soon, I was going to say, Lynx could get some damage done.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he lets the hatchery inside Rail's base finish. That's like baiting the Zealot, but if he lets it finish, it will die. He won't be able to build a queen. Like, he'll get a larva or 2 maybe.
Yeah.
And his Roach Warren, I don't even think he has one, so...
He's just droning up behind this too.
I don't think he's going to try to just build 2 or 4 lings.
But
Then again, it's Bly,
Scouts.
so maybe that's exactly what he would do.
Because he doesn't think I would do it. That's when I do it.
Well, he can also cancel the hatch at the last second and use the drone to scout too. So it is just like, you know.
Yeah.
He put a down payment on a scout. That costs a lot. He gets most of it back, but, you know.
I'm just waiting for him to move into the natural and steal a gas geyser or something. It'll be the 4.5-minute gas steal.
The greatest of betrayals.
Okay, it looks like things do get pushed back. Immortal's going to pop out, so even if he tried to go for another buildings thing, probably wouldn't last very long.
Honestly, wouldn't have been surprised if he had done it. If he had built another hatch. Just been like, yep. That drone he was born to transform.
Tries to build a hatch and then just immediately an Immortal kills it. One shot.
I can't imagine how terrible that must feel to like literally have your entire body turn into a structure and then undone like multiple times over.
It sounds painful
while
when you
aliens are like slashing at you with laser beams the entire time.
Okay, so I know that normally you get up a couple of lings to help deal with the depth pressure, or maybe like a warp prism or something, but this is a Roach Horn and a lot of lings actually. 14 lings on the way, stopping to 33 drones for now. Do we think this is going to turn into a bit of a follow-up all-in here, or is this just like a safety play?
I don't know if Bly can afford that. Like I think it's kind of weird. So we have the Observer on the way. He's getting the Twilight and the Forge. Okay, I wasn't sure if we were gonna see one of those because he got the Immortal and the Prism, but it's only he stopped at the 1 Immortal, then went into the Obs. So he could go back into Immortals now. I guess these builds are a little bit weird because we saw Rail already smack Bly earlier with the heavy Immortal play.
Sentries are here with some Force Fields. The
a bit more conservative here.
Overlord spots all this stuff out. There's a little bit of, oh my god, he hallucinates a Phoenix. He does kill off the Overlord. That means there's less force fields here. The Lings could potentially jump on this.
Yeah, there's not a lot of firepower there. Don't know how much weapon potential he has available. There's the Immortal, also getting some hits in on one of the Queens. Does pick it off. That's a really good grab, because if the Queens die, then that Warp Prism just gets to dance all day.
Yeah, nothing to actually snipe it out of the air. Another queen,
Really
guys.
good. Really great pickoffs there. I mean, 2 drones and 2 queens.
And he
for
pulled
nothing?
all the lings back. So that third base kind of maybe
Yeah, that's
under
really
fire.
nice.
Not
too,
even
yeah.
a worry.
The sentries, you were talking about the sentry energy. Sentry's got that energy.
Templar Archives on the way, as well as a few more gateways, getting up charge, getting up +1 weapons. Rail is moving into that kind of more normal-looking Protoss mid-game, especially with the Immortals being added on. Bly, his worker count is still not that healthy
Hey, he's
right
just
now,
cranking out lings and ravagers.
Yeah.
It looks like he wants to try to make a big play on this third base. I mean, the entire game could hinge on this very moment.
Well, this is it, and I don't know if Rail has actually spotted out all those units, and even the third base saturation, there's a little bit there, but not that much. I don't think he knows.
No, this is a huge flood of Zerglings that are going to come in. He recalls the army. He's like, you know what?
Ooh.
I'm out, because he had the 2 High Templar there that he didn't merge yet. Now they're merging, and the third base is super dead.
Loses 7 workers, so unfortunately he ends up losing some of those workers, but this is, if he can defend his natural, I think this might still be okay. He snags a couple of the Ravagers, that's nice.
Yep, that's a good pick off. Now the Wolf Prism is here to also aid in this defense. Look at that. I love this. Quickly swings the Zerglings around. He's like, okay, I want to try to flank. Oh, Protoss army, pretty surrounded right now. Is going to need to do some hot pickups with that Prism to keep his forces alive. But Bly is battering down the front door of Rail as he continues to push forward. The wall has been compromised so far. Those biles allow him to push that space open if he wants to flood the Lings, but does not want to move in against the Archon just yet. Those biles we see hitting the Immortals as that gateway continues to drop in health.
Great micro from Rail so far. I would have loved if he had pulled the Archon over to the other side of the wall to take on some of these Lings, though, just because the Archon will do so much splash damage to them. Now he's got 2 Archons. He's pushing back this army for Bly. And remember, Bly committed a lot of units to this that were not drones. Even if you look at things like, say, oh, I don't know, lair tech, he's got a lair and nothing to do with it.
Biggest thing, I think, for Rail right now is that +1 on the Zealots is so nice. Just when you're being overwhelmed by so many units swarming over you, the fact that the Zealots have that 2-hit capability against the Lings really helps them defend so much better than they normally would.
Wow. They are really holding the line.
Yeah, ripping and tearing.
That, you are so right, actually. That made the difference in being able to defend.
Oh, I think all those Zealots die and they maybe jump onto the Immortal there if they don't have that +1. Upgrades for Zealots versus Lings, really big, and this opens up the door now again for Rail to try to make this attack. Of course, that benefits those Archons as they already do so much damage, but I guess we're going to have to see how the Force Fields and Guardian Shields go down because the Roaches can jump on top of those, but he's got 2 Immortals. This army composition from Rail looks good, still being attacked at the same time.
Well, actually, that's a cute move. He baits in a couple of Zerglings to attack these Zealots and move into the Photon Cannon range.
Yeah.
But this is...
You still want to use all the Warpins aggressively at this point, I'd imagine.
Totally.
So he's trying to he's trying to buy a little bit of time for himself. More and more Roaches are coming out. That's a lot of Archons.
That Archon count is a little disgusting. These Lings are going to do absolutely nothing, but thankfully for Bly, he is mostly on Roaches. We'll see how effective this is going to be. The micro from Rail has been pretty on point in that first series, and here we move in. The Archons really just not dying right now. Finally, one of them down, but the Immortal's also doing so much damage.
The Rail train is moving along, and you know what? As you said, those Immortals, all 3 of them still alive. The Warp Prism is still alive, can continue to reinforce, and Rail has even the supply, knocking down Bly as that Prism continues to juggle these Archons like they're chainsaws, Spear Dragon. All of the drones are dead. Another big Zealot warp in by the third base, and Rail is going to try and even the score here in WCS Winter Group A deciding match. Goodbye third base, and I think for this game, it could be goodbye Bly.
You're really good trying to buy time for that GG. Didn't quite come.
The cinematic edition, really.
Yeah, I appreciated it. Well, Bly gonna hold out for a little bit longer, but this is still him being up 1-0. So even though he is down to 28 workers, he finally taps out. GG, we're going to a decider match.
And so as the fabric of time begins to bend, Rail says no. He will change his destiny from losing the rematch of the first series of the group.
If he can change destiny, that would be a pretty big thing, because
The ability to warp space and time would be very powerful in Rail's hands.
I feel like Aligulac has got to have some way of looking up the statistic of whoever loses the first series wins the second series.
It's 100%. It's guaranteed.
100%.
Cannot.
It actually cannot be undone.
No.
That'd be amazing.
We've had this conversation way too many times in WCS. The amount of times Rotterdam and I in WCS America have been like, okay, Special beat Tasia in the first match. He could definitely do it in a decider.
What do you think the reason for it is?
I don't know. It's like, okay, you can't really go Super Saiyan 2 until everybody, until everything's off the table. Everyone's already out of the fight or dying or whatever, You need that bit of a push. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And 2 episodes of shouting as well included.
Oh,
very important to get the focus necessary.
That sounds like an mechanic strat, right? You gotta give a little bit of tension.
That's a very common game mechanic for almost any game, right? Where you're like, when you're behind or your health is low, all of a sudden you get this big damage boost. All of a sudden you get a bit stronger. And that's what we're seeing right here.
Can you imagine Lord of the Rings? It's like if the armies of Mordor were actually just weaker, just from the beginning. It's like, yeah. You just kind of walk in,
it's not.
throw the ring away, it's done.
The story is only cool if you come back from behind. Everyone loves an underdog story.
All right, looks like map number 3 is finally getting underway. We're getting that lobby invite set up. Curious to see what the map pick is going to be. Year 0. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Year 0 is a fun map. I really like the
nice big map.
I love the graphical aesthetic on the
Amon.
map. Yeah, it's really cool. I tried to convince one of my opponents. I was like, man, what if we just team up and take down Amon and we both won? What if it counted as a victory for both of us? And he's like, wrong game mode. I'm like, I don't know.
That'd be pretty solid. I really wish that Amon just randomly swatted things like medevacs out of the sky. Swatted a warp prism with 4 High Templars.
I was just happy we got new doodads. I didn't need to kill things.
Actually, here's what we do, all right? We'll disguise Amon by putting neutral missile turrets behind Amon.
Now that's cool.
And we just won't put it in the patch.
Make them neutral infested missile turrets so that they use those rocket animations.
Those
Yeah,
are
that's what
sick.
I'm talking about. Yeah.
I can always count on you to know all the good skins.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think it's pretty cool because the players, with the new patch, the players, I think, technically.
So it's something that we may see soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Since we'll talk about that in a second, but starting up here in the top right, we have our red Zerg player. He is Bly.
And his opponent in the northwest, trying to fight destiny. He is Rail.
Oh yeah, I forgot Destiny started playing StarCraft again.
Yeah. No one ever really quits playing StarCraft, okay?
No, there are people who quit, but they don't say that they're gonna stop playing StarCraft.
Nobody ever really quits this game. Fear Dragon.
That's true. Well, they'll come back for StarCraft 3. You ever wonder about like some of the old Brood War pros, the really old school ones, like Gur or something? No,
because that guy was playing the game when I was literally 7 years old. So.
I forgot you were a bad.
I've got nothing.
You didn't look up to him like your little Superman?
No, I'm pretty sure I was at preschool when Day 9 was lining up to get Brood War when it came out.
Ooh, I like this actually a lot from Rail. Just pulling the extra probe.
Don't want to deal with the hatch block. Look, he gets the base so much faster. That's so much nicer.
Even if the hatch block isn't necessarily cost efficient in this, oh my god.
Well,
I was gonna say it forces you to react and it throws you off your original game plan or your build.
You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The assimilator 100% can see that.
Okay.
I say as I double check.
As a Terran player, you feel playing Terran gives you the impression that building structures have no vision because you're so used to seeing everything with the SCV that when the SCV dies, you're like, my building literally can't see anything. You forget that constructing buildings do have some vision.
I know. Protoss players all know how much vision hatcheries and stuff have. We are very prepared. We're like, okay, so if I put the cannon here, they can't see it.
Yeah. It's got the 5 Tazy boys wrapped around that hatch.
Death by taser would be pretty painful.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is you need to really amp up the voltage for that, which would then become pretty horrific, actually.
If I can make a trade, then my probes...
Being killed by probes is pretty bad.
Mm.
So here's a fun fact for you, since we might eventually be able to have the skins here. Did you know that the simulant drone has its little crab claws replaced by cutters, by little saw blades? And did you know that if a simulant drone kills a Marine or a Zergling, it will use these zealots. It uses the zealots kill animation of it being literally slashed in half.
That's pretty glorious.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I love a lot of the death animations.
Yeah. StarCraft. The attention to detail that the guys behind the scenes give. Because the thing is, I actually didn't even notice that. And then it was at BlizzCon, I got to talk to one of the StarCraft developers, and he was just gushing about it. He's like, did you even know this? Because he's like, this was so cool. He's like, this was, like, I think, one of the coolest things about when we implemented this. I'm like, those guys think of everything.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to sit down and talk, actually, it's a really great opportunity. If you guys ever go to BlizzCon, there are those kind of developer panels, and I don't even mean the ones where they like sit down and talk about something. They actually just have times where the devs will just sit there and autograph stuff, and you can go talk to them. They're all super friendly. I have learned some very interesting and cool useless facts from them.
Yeah. That's what we got to stay on top of here in the World Championship Series. Because we've got moments like this where it's a little bit cool with the oracles going across the map, and then we can start really commentating again. Because so far, this is basically what we expect, right? Fly's taking the hatches. He's shredding his creep. He's going to the Roachworn. He's continuing to build queens. We've seen this out of him basically every single game so far. I guess the big difference here is that we've really only seen Rail do robotics facility-based plays. He did the Stargate in Game 1, but he got bopped by that early cheese. And well, you know what? I'm talk about his Stargate. He's going straight into double robo off 2 bases. Did he get Warp Gate? Is he playing?
No, he got Warp Gate. Yeah, he got Warp Gate.
All right. All of a sudden, all of a sudden, my brain shut down. I'm like, is Rotterdam? Did Rotterdam take over? Is he channeling the spirit of Rotterdam?
Now, I did get to see Rail go for this style. I say, as I'm going to jinx myself, because I said this about his Protoss versus Terrion earlier today, and he ended up just completely changing up his build. But I saw him go for like the Stargate into double robe, which pump out lots and lots of Immortals. And it ended up being actually pretty strong. He was able to do pretty well, and he can go for that kind of big push out. You stop at that one Phoenix after you just kind of use it to clean up some Overlords, push around the map, and stay a little bit lighter on the gateway units until you get up your third base.
So that Phoenix trying to path around the top, that's where Amon is, by the way. If
yeah,
you guys have ever played co-op, that giant, awful, evil-looking dude, he is, yeah, he's the cause of all your misery.
Evil is relative.
Well, we are the good guys with the guns, so he is evil. That is
Protoss don't have guns.
Do they though? Kind of. Lasers.
I guess
lasers are close enough to me.
That's true. Laser guns.
Laser battery kind of be called a gun if you think about it.
I guess the laser gun in like not GoldenEye, but the Bond movies are still called guns.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'll take it.
Yep. A lot of Roaches coming out with Roach speed now on the way. Not going to fare very well, I think, against the double Immortal if he continues to crank him out. Speaking of, if you guys like robotics facilities, we got WCS Americas coming up after this match, and you'll be able to see your boy Dr. M. Canning schooling y'all on that robo play. So he is known as Disruptor King Prime. Gonna recall. Oh,
that's cute.
Did the Oracle actually make it out of there? Okay.
Yeah, the Oracle made it out okay, and he's gonna be able to keep the Phoenix here. He only recalled the Oracle, which I actually really like, because just gives him a little extra scouting information. Now, did he realize or see how many Roaches were starting to come out? Because of course he's making his double robo Immortals and stuff, but he's thrown down the robotics bay. And if he goes into, is he going to go into Colossus or Disruptors? I really like Disruptors.
Yeah, Disruptors would be, I think, a bit cooler to see here. Although, really, you'd almost wish he'd forgotten his robo bay and just kept cranking out Immortals the whole time.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
It's a little harder to afford, too, interestingly enough, because the cost increase for the Immortal.
Oh yeah, that is a very
an
recent
extra
change.
$25.
I guess it is a bit of a harder proposition, because the more Immortals you make, the more that cost increase is going to start to factor in, because otherwise it's like the cost reduction on the robotics facility.
Yeah, it's something that's easy to miss, because like the reduction cost on the robotics facility is extremely big, even though it's like, oh, it's only a little bit of resources, but at the point in the game where you would make it, it is significant. But once you start cranking out lots of Immortals, and then you're like, well, this is actually a couple less Zealots or other units that I can warp in now because I built so many of them, that's when you start to feel that. But look at this. From all those roaches, we have now the transition into Swarm Host.
This is exactly the thing that Rail was talking about. He was so afraid of from Bly. Bly's never really been able to get up into that massive Swarm Host count against Rail, or at least make it work effectively. So this is the kind of difficult spot that Rail has been forced into. He's gotten up the Colossus, and the Colossus are helpful versus those Swarm Hosts. You need to be able to kill them off before they can do too much damage to you. But look at Bly. He's already getting up his Hive. He's already getting up a Spire. He's getting ready for the next transition after the Swarm Host.
Yeah, he's in a tier 3 state of mind, as they would say for your Dragon. All these roaches to protect him and open up the transition path for that late game play. And of course, Swarm Hosts on this map are pretty fun. We have a little bit of the Roach Harass going down over here. Sees that there's a lot of Immortals in the Colossus. He's adding 8 more Swarm Hosts. What's the total count going to be then? What's he at right now?
He's at 10, so 18.
18 Swarm Hosts.
That's a lot.
Now that gets into the danger territory, because if your Swarm Hosts don't find a little bit of purchase in the enemy's base, you are going to be vulnerable in a big way, because those Swarm Hosts take up a lot of supply. The Locusts aren't really that great at killing armies in this sort of situation. Especially since the Colossus do a great job of helping to fry them depending on the number that you get. But with the Spire finishing, I'm wondering, is he going to go straight to Broodlords?
I think it's got to be Broodlords, right? If you're going to go for the Spire and the Hive at the same time like that,
Bly is the kind of guy that would trade out a lot of this and go into Mutas, though.
That is true.
Not that it's the right play, but Bly is the type of player that would do it if he thought that he could get away with it.
Yeah. This gets you were talking about this a bit before, but that's so much supply in these Swarm Hosts. So there's going to be this weird point where he is just constantly maxed out, and he has to trade off. He doesn't want to trade off the Swarm Hosts. He doesn't want to just sacrifice Swarm Hosts, right? You want to trade out the Roaches, but then he's going to need enough time after he sacrifices the Roaches to make the Corruptors and then turn them into Broodlords before Rail can go for some big push across the map. So there's a little bit of a danger zone in how he has to trade out the supply. We'll see how
I think he's doing a great job of it
so
far. It seems to be working the way Bly wanted. He pulled the whole army back in. Now the Roach Ravager goes to the south side of that third base. He can try to smite that while he drops another big wave of Locusts into the main. And this, whereas the Protoss player, you feel like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. You want to move out across the map. If you can get some good force fields and pinch this army off, that would be really nice, but not going to get it. And there's still a ton of Roaches that are going to threaten that base if he tries to move out.
Swarm Hosts unleash their wave of Locusts, going over to that main base. The Colossus and the Stalker is going to be able to intercept this. We'll see how much damage they can get done. They could actually right-click on the Colossus or just go after the Forges even.
It looks like he's going to try to go for them, but no, pulls back. There we see. You know what? Even just getting a few of these gateway units, Swarm Hosts they generate value over time, right? They're not immediately cost-effective. It looks like one of the Colossus actually got picked off there by the Roaches, despite those force fields closing them off. But now the Corruptors are coming out. And Bly's got a lot of money, but he needs time now to get those Broodlords out.
Yeah, this is that kind of period of time I was talking about before, where he's traded out the Roach supply, like we were saying, and he, like you said, needs a little more time to get out the Broodlords. But I think that because he was being aggressive with the Roaches, everything was happening on Rail's side of the map. So it takes Rail another 30 seconds, not just to clean up creep and everything, but to actually even get to the other side of the map.
It's a big map.
It takes a while. Broodlords are going to have plenty of time to morph in and probably get into position before any of the bases come under attack.
I'm surprised he didn't move out and try to throw a wave of Locusts at him. I guess he really wants to keep all of them for the big fight, rather than see if he can squeeze out 2 waves, which is, I guess, a little bit more of a greedy, adventurous play. Could try to flank him on this east side with the Locusts and then get him with the Broodlords, but it looks like Rail is on the retreat. The Locusts are going to land on top of the Protoss army, getting a few of the shots in. And Rail is forced back so far, but as soon as he has an opportunity to blink under those Broodlords, he could potentially go for it. There's really not a lot to support them other than those Swarm Hosts that are on cooldown.
There's only 4 Roaches out right now and a handful of these Queens. The Spinecars are going to help out a little bit, but here we go. The big forward. The Broodlords are in pretty high numbers. They're going to afford to lose a few of them. Needs to turn around and fire a couple of shots here and there. And we finally end up seeing the Stalkers taking some damage to those Broodlings. The Hydra starting to pop out. The Stalker count is reduced, but all of the Broodlords are going to end up falling here.
And without the Broodlords, you don't have anything that's going to do with the Colossi Immortal count. There's another wave of the Locusts coming in. That is going to try and help push back, and another Colossus is going to show up. But when this wave of Locusts is gone, how is he going to stop this next Swarm. And another big round of Stalkers being added here. The Swarm hosts are exposed. The Stalkers could blink and try to chase while the Colossi and the Immortals push over to the main.
A lot of Hydras coming on now. 23 of them about to pop. A few of them getting picked up. Swarm hosts still on cooldown, and they're finally getting caught. Remember, these Stalkers have blink, so they can jump on these Swarm hosts, take out as many of them as possible. Colossus, a little bit of the front line there. Got to be careful with that.
Yeah, this is just so painful, and there's the blink forward, throws out the Locust Wave, and since there's no creep here, he can just retreat straight away from the Hydralisk and the Locust if he so chooses. There is a base to the southeast, he could just head towards that. The Colossi, of course, with that area of effect attack doing a great job, and the Prism picking up any of the units.
47 kills! 47 kills, 44 kills. All of these Colossus have put in so much work. Looks like the Spine Crawlers and the Spore Crawlers are going to be able to push back the Protoss army for a little bit. Even though Rail has just been sitting on 3 bases for a majority of this game, it seems like it's going to be more than enough because he is just taking cost-efficient trade after cost-efficient trade here and has been able to secure himself a really winning spot here.
Nothing going right for Bly as Rail fights against the inevitable and still manages an amazing 2-1 victory despite winning that first match. We always talk about how the player that's favored who loses the first series comes back and wins in the decider. Not today, Fear Dragon. Not today.
Defying destiny, he is going to be able to advance on to the next group stage. Congratulations to Rail. Bly still putting up a good fight, is still going to be walking away with about $675, but that does do it for our European group. And like you said, Nathanius, we still got the Americas group coming up after this.
Oh yeah, and I'm super excited for what we've got coming up because I'm a big fan of some of these players. I think you guys are as well. Big names, Special and M. Canning. A series to start. What more could you possibly ask for? I cannot wait to get into Group A for Americas.
Tudming and Eric also representing some of the other Americas regions, but let's recap the day. You guys can see we got a lot of really fun games here today. Some of them a little bit more one-sided, but a lot of just kind of interesting back and forth games, I would say. Not games that you wouldn't quite see look exactly like the current meta. So Thermal, of course, going to be that first player that advances alongside Rail.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, I think that we are almost ready to go into Americas. Nate, do you have any predictions about the Americas group?
Well, I like Special a lot. I think Special is a pretty clear first place player in that group. M. Canning, whether he wants to use 1% of his power or 2% of his power, is going to heavily influence the outcome of that group. Eric comes in as a big underdog. He's a player that if you play on America's ladder, you see him a lot, but this is really going to be his first big opportunity to shine on a stage like WCS. And Tudming, you know, he's a player that's kind of had more up and down. He's been a little more volatile over the last year or two, but he's the most stylish player of the group. Yeah. So I'm going to give him all the style points before we even get into it.
Man, that's going to be a lot of fun, too, because Tudming, just being from that super different region, doesn't really play against a lot of these other players. I don't know how much he's going to know about, say, M. Canning's playstyle, even though everyone in North America knows how M. Canning plays.
Everybody on Earth knows M. Canning.
I don't know if Tudming will. I actually don't know.
Well,
and same thing for M. Canning with Tudming.
If he doesn't, then he's going to learn the hard way, Fear Dragon.
Well, we're going to find out in a little bit, guys. We're going to be going to a slightly longer break while we get the Americas region matches set on up. You guys are watching WCS Winter. Please don't go anywhere.